right. Well, hopefully this day is going to be a good one for you. So as you can see on the agenda for our day, I have a little speech here, just a little excerpt from a speech that I want to just bring in that's by Joseph Goebbels, propaganda minister for Adolf Hitler. And then just a little video clip. It's highlighting a small little battle in the Pacific Theater, Kwajalein, and then talk a little bit about next week, and then give you some time to work on the assignment Total War, Second World War. All right. Now, let's see here. I have a little. There we go. A little excerpt from a speech that Joseph Goebbels is going to give to the German people. It's called "Nation, Rise Up and Let the Storm Break Loose." Sometimes in German, it's "Totalitärer Krieg, Kurzester Krieg." All right, anytime I get a moment to throw a little German in there, I will. And, you know, yesterday in that video clip about the home front here in the United States, and we made some comments about how people were behind the cause and they rallied, did their part on the home front, helped the soldiers there on the war front. Here it is, it's 1943 in Germany. And to give some historical context for this speech, Stalingrad has fallen. And so this was a very important battle for Adolf Hitler. Tried to take Stalin City and fails. El Alamein is occurring or has occurred, and the African Corps is defeated. And the United States is starting to mount a successful offensive, or begin a successful offensive in the Pacific Theater. So there's a lot of things going on here, and it's not looking well for the Axis powers. And so it's speech time here. Normally, I would have us look at the total speech and break it down, but I've just got a little excerpt from it. This is considered his best speech that he gives, and it's an epically long speech as well. On paper, it's 17 pages about, so I could imagine it's going probably close to 2 hours, this speech. It's given at the Berlin Sports Palace, which was the same place that Adolf Hitler addresses the nation really for the first time as chancellor. So this spot is very important and very sacred. There's going to be about 14,000 Germans in attendance. They are almost hand-picked, so these are loyal to the core for Adolf Hitler. But it was also a day in which businesses in Germany had shut down, so they could hear this speech. So here's this excerpt, and I want us to think a little bit about, you know, what does it really mean here? So I'm trying to give you some context with it as well. Understand that this war for Germany is not only about creating Lebensraum, but it's also an ideological war too. So we are children of our people, forged together by this most critical hour of our national history. We promise you, we promise the front, we promise the Führer that we will mold together the homeland into a force on which the Führer and his fighting soldiers can rely on absolutely and blindly. We pledge to do all in our life and work that is necessary for victory. We will fill our hearts with the political passions, with the ever-burning fire that blazed during the great struggles of the party and the state. This evening, I once again remind the whole nation of its duty. The Führer expects us to do that which will throw all we have done in the past into the shadows. We do not want to fail him. As we are proud of him, he should be proud of us. Now, people, rise up and let the storm break loose. All right. Just in that little clip there, that little excerpt, is there any words that stand out, or anything that you can reactions that you might get? You can either unmic or you can put it in the chat.
I think
Normally we would break this thing down as in a larger sense here if we had a little bit more time. But anyone have a thought?
I was gonna say that there's a lot of strong wording and like absolutes.
Okay, yes. That's a good point that you make. There is a strong nature to this, the tone. So if we're looking for the content of it, and definitely some absolutes. So anyone else have any thoughts? For the propaganda minister here, this is the moment for him to show his loyalty. Anna, do you have a thought?
Yeah. So the words duty and like the Fuhrer expects us to do that, like gives the responsibility to its citizens. It's some sort of propaganda.
Yes, yes, definitely. It is propaganda here. He is the propaganda minister, or the minister of culture, is another way that we can look at it. He's also looking at this as an opportunity to show his continual loyalty and devotion to Adolf Hitler, possibly use this as a vehicle to find himself in more parts of the government as well. He's been by Hitler's side from the beginning. He helped Adolf Hitler in the 1920s consolidate his power and marginalize his opponents within the party as well in the 1920s. But the idea that there's absolute and duty, and this is where we'll see not only in Germany but in places like Japan, that there are requests being made of the people of their country, in this case Germany, that they must make the sacrifice, and that ultimate sacrifice could be their lives, giving their life to their Führer. We know that in Japan, the citizens will give their last measure to the emperor. This, in many ways, is the same case here that we'll see in Germany as well. Asking for citizens to do what they can do, whether it's in the industry, war industry plants, continue to work long hours, or join the reserves and fight the enemy. Because it's not quite an admission that they're losing the war, but it's pretty close to it. And it also shows that they are becoming desperate here. All right, lot more we could dig into on this one, but we just simply cannot afford it at this moment. What I do want is, I have a video clip here that I want to bring in, and this video clip is going to be about Kwajalein, and it's a small island or atoll in the Pacific. And perhaps maybe someone can tell me what is the U.S. strategy in the Pacific theater here?
Island hopping.
Yes, island hopping is correct. All right, it seems like we're going to throw out the playbook here and get innovative, and island hopping is part of it. So we're going to watch this video clip here. It's not that long, but I want you to think about some kind of takeaways. How does this also reflect total war? Like that speech by Joseph Goebbels, It's an example of total war. That's speech, it's mass media, it's propaganda, government getting involved in trying to direct the war effort. How can this battle, Kwajalein, represent total war? I will say there will be, since it is a battle, there will be some graphic moments.
Kwajalein was an interesting experience because I feel now that it was like I would see a movie documentary. I saw the attack by our fleet, by our planes, dozens of battleships and destroyers pumping shell after shell. It seemed so overwhelming, the force that we applied to this tiny island, not more than maybe 2 miles each way. That was quite an overwhelming display of might. I saw the carnage and the complete devastation that I've never seen before. It was a total carnage. There was nothing left standing. Everything was just concrete and bodies and dead palm trees. Everything was just shot to hell. There was nothing there. It was awful.
All right, so that was again a very quick little clip here, but there's a lot of good historical nuggets here that can tie into this idea of a total war. All right, so does anyone have like any takeaways that immediately come to their mind here about how Kwajalein, that battle, can represent this idea of total war?
I think it represents total war just because the island itself, I'm assuming, was pretty small, and the fact that the United States had that many men, that many ships, is kind of unbelievable.
Okay, all right, good point. Good point brought up.
Well, that's not really total war because it's not bringing in like the civilian population at home.
Okay, so I think when we look at total war and we want to look at the entire Second World War and look at how the government is getting involved, how civilians are brought in, and then also you've got the war element of it. And so putting that all together, so it's in some ways we look at it, it's a historical formula.
What I meant is that like just the massive armies in and of themselves don't mean total war.
Okay, all right. Okay, I see your point. Okay. Anyone else have a thought?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, what was like the average population of those islands? Like, was there like any indigenous people on those islands or anything like that? Or like who inhabited them normally?
Yeah. You know, that's a really good question here, and there are a small indigenous populations. When it comes to Kwajalein, I'm not sure what the population was on Kwajalein, but it was part of, I think it said the Marianas, or yeah, I think it might have been the part of the Mariana island chain, which there are other islands in there that you do have indigenous populations. But in many cases, when the Japanese had moved in to some of these islands that did have indigenous populations, they would find themselves becoming laborers for the Imperial Japanese military, and they would be under control and scrutiny, and that goes along with it. You know, I can think about with this the island of Guam, which is an American territory then as well as today. They would fall under Japanese control and be affected by this war as well, get caught in the middle. But I think that was a good point.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting, and it's like something I've never really paid that much attention to, is like the other countries that were like probably greatly affected by just the fact that people were fighting on their land.
Yes.
Have you heard of cargo cults?
Elaborate.
So basically what happened is before World War II, there were lots of uncontacted Polynesian people living on these islands.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the militaries came in and started doing like marching drills and building radio towers on their island, they were like, what's going on here? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And like they could tell that there was like reasoning behind it, but they couldn't really tell what it was, just because they'd never been exposed to it before.
Yeah.
And then after the militaries left these islands, they started building like mimicking radio towers out of wood and like wooden headset shaped items and like wooden airplanes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, like we sometimes say, war can be transformational. And so here's an example of it being transformational. So looking at Kwajalein in terms of military, and perhaps maybe if we want to look at the technology, the new technology that's being used here, when just taking that small atoll, the United States threw everything that they had at that moment into the arsenal to take that little island. And huge numbers, all right? So if we look at total aspect here, mobilization of force, well over 42,000 soldiers there, going up against about 81,000 Japanese soldiers, using the air, using the Navy. Heavy artillery is being used here just to take this little atoll, with the idea is to then work towards getting closer to Japan, using these bases as air bases to launch the big bombers in order to get even closer to perhaps bomb Japan, but also get more islands. So it's all part of a strategy here. And so when we think of amphibious assaults, we think of D-Day in the European theater, but you have amphibious assaults almost the norm in the Pacific theater here. Okay. All right, to kind of wrap it up a little bit here, again, you are working on this total war activity. You can work with a small group, up to 3 people, or you can go solo. If you're working with multiple people, we got to make sure that everyone is given credit for being a part of it, and hopefully equally share the responsibility for it. There are just some subtle differences of what you're looking at here for this total war, and then finished product's a little different as well. All right, and so this will be due tomorrow. All right, and so with that, we're not going to have. I'll go with what we did last week. Tomorrow, Friday, we're not going to have a live Google Meet. I'll keep a Google Meet open just for if people have any questions or concerns, but we won't have a live Google Meet tomorrow. I'm going to give you that time to work on getting Total War done, so you can have some success there. But before I cut you loose, though, next week you will have a short answer exam related to Unit 2. And so I had shout out through a message this review sheet. And this is really the guide here. You will have Tuesday or Wednesday, either day, to get that short answer done. Tuesday, Wednesday. I know Wednesday you say, well, we're on break. Well, true, we are. But you can do it on Tuesday. You'll have 60 minutes, though, to win it. 60 minutes. It is timed. And so you need to be terse and to the point. And so that's what this guide sheet is going to help you with. So it's very detailed, though, because I'm always about focusing on historical details, and you can see it here. You're going to want to research at least 2 of the topics from each group. You don't know what the wording of the prompt's going to be next week, but at least you know what the topics are. And so you've got 6 topics here. They're in 2 groupings, and so that's what you'll see. There will be 2 questions in the short answer, but there will be pools, and you'll get to pick your prompt. And so the first pool is going to deal with grouping number 1. So you got the effect of 2 wars on the role of women, the impact of technology, and then looking also at the influence of foreign powers in the outcome of civil wars. All right, so that's like in pool number 1 or grouping number 1, and you'll see that there'll be 3 prompts with it, and you'll be able to pick one and you'll go with it. Now this will be open notes, so you should have this by your side. Again, it's 60 minutes, so you can't be looking at so many different things. You're going to have your guide sheet with you to help you succeed. And then another grouping here, grouping number 2 or pool number 2 is going to relate it to question number 2, and you'll have 3 prompts. And this one is the effects of the peacemaking process, the impact of war on minorities, and the ideological cause caused the outbreak of civil wars. All right. So you need to show your understanding of the topic. The prompts will focus on aspect of each of the topic. You'll write short answers, response to 2 of the prompts, 1 from each of the pools. All right. And I'll talk more about this on Monday as well in class, because tomorrow we're not going to have class, because I'm going to give you that time to work on things related to the assignment Total War.
Mr. Newcomb, where did you say you could find that sheet?
Yep. So I sent it out in some updates, but if you go into week 4, click on the week 4 folder, and you'll see in the Unit 2 assessment folder this review sheet as well.
All right, thank you.
Right. And I do encourage you maybe work with historical buddies on this. This is a very detailed review sheet. And again, you might say, Mr. Newcomb, I don't do review sheets. I just wing it. All right, that's a risk. All right, but you can wing it, or you can be prepped, or you can prepare and have something to help you. All right, and so that's what the whole idea of this is to do. All right. You can also roll the dice and say, Mr. Newcomb, I know you say work on 2 topics for each of the pools. I'm only going to do 1. Again, that's your choice. All right. You can either wing it, do bare minimum, or focus on 2 topics from each. But also bear in mind too that this can also help you review for the IB exam in May. So hang on to it. Don't chuck it. Don't throw it. This is also a good way to review. Okay. Any other questions?
I wanted to mention that you did have another assignment that'll be due on Sunday, and it's already open, but
Oh yeah, yeah, it's there. Yeah, I just wanted to focus on the 2 big summative pieces.
okay.
Right, that last one is the impact, which can help with looking at the peacemaking, but then also look at the social pieces there as well. How does the war impact women? How does the war impact minorities as well? Yep, that's a good point.
And so for this assessment, is it
Mhm.
kind of similar to other ones we did, or is it different? Like, is it that whole like it's not OPVL and stuff?
No, it's not a paper 1 at all. This is like
Okay.
paper 2. You're just showing what you know. You're writing. It's short answer, so it's not an essay. No, I'm not looking for a body or an intro, a body conclusion. I'm looking for you to make a claim. Give me some support.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Hey,
All right.
Cat.
All right, we got a cat. All right. Anyone else have a question? All right, so with that, remember tomorrow, no live Google Meet, but let's work on total war activity, get that done, especially if you're working with historical buddies. Over the weekend, yeah, focus on the impact, and then next week, we'll take care of the final pieces. All right, with that, you can stay on, and if you have more questions, or you can exit and have a fantastic day.